Hey everyone, and welcome back. For this deep dive, we're going to be looking at something a little different.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring the power of playfulness, especially when life, kind of throws those curveballs at you. We're going to be looking at a blog post or an article. It's called The Spizz.
The Spizz.
Yeah, and it's by an author named Twisty.
Twisty.
Yeah, I know.
Interesting.
Right. So the name alone kind of promises an interesting read.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, the writing style definitely lives up to it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a rut?
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there.
Right.
It's part of the human experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And our author, Twisty, they have a pretty radical approach to these situations.
Oh.
They call it spizzing.
Spizzing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's essentially taking those setbacks and turning them into opportunities for growth, resilience, and maybe even a little fun along the way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
So instead of just coping with the negative, you're kind of actively looking for ways to turn it into something positive.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about changing your perspective
Okay.
and finding that hidden potential in every challenge.
Okay.
And there's actually some scientific backing to this whole idea.
Really?
Yeah. So Twisty actually mentioned a study. It was from Oregon State,
Okay.
and it found that playful people tend to be more adaptable and resilient
Mm-hmm.
in uncertain times.
So when things feel chaotic, a little playfulness can go a long way.
Right. And speaking of turning challenges into opportunities,
Yeah.
Twisty shares a pretty wild anecdote about their own life.
Okay.
So apparently they ended up turning a probation sentence for anger management
Wow.
into a multi-million-dollar business opportunity.
That's quite a turnaround.
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, as part of the probation, Twisty had to attend anger management classes.
Mm.
But being the unconventional thinker they are, they didn't just participate.
Uh-huh.
They ended up running the program.
Oh.
Yeah. They saw a need, and they figured out a way to turn, a difficult situation into something incredibly successful.
Yeah, that's a powerful example of how reframing a situation can lead to these really unexpected outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's not just about making the best of a bad situation. It's about seeking out the opportunity
Yes.
within the challenge.
Yeah. And this leads us to the heart of Twisty Spizz playbook.
Okay.
So they outline 4 key strategies for cultivating this PIZ mindset.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What's the first strategy?
So the first one is called the reframe reflex.
Okay.
It's kind of like a mental reset button.
All right.
So when something goes wrong, instead of dwelling on that why me mindset, Twisty encourages you to shift your focus
Okay.
and ask yourself some questions like, what's the hidden win here? Or what's the next move?
So it's about actively looking for that opportunity
Yeah.
within the challenge,
Yeah.
rather than getting stuck in those negative emotions.
Exactly. They even suggest a little prompt that you can use to trigger this mental shift.
Okay.
So whenever something goes wrong, pause and just say out loud, okay, what's the play here?
Oh, I like that.
Right. It's almost like turning it into a game.
Yeah, by framing it as a game, you're taking some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
And you're allowing yourself to be more creative.
Exactly. The second strategy is all about playful problem solving,
Playful problem solving.
which basically means finding creative ways to shake things up when you're feeling stuck.
Okay, but how do you actually play with a problem?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Twisty suggests trying to solve the problem while doing something completely different, like
Right.
walking, standing upside down, or even singing.
Okay. I can see how those activities might help get you out of a mental rut
Right.
and maybe spark some new ideas.
Yeah, exactly. It's about getting out of your usual headspace and approaching the problem from a fresh perspective.
Okay.
They also suggest asking yourself ridiculous what-if questions or looking for inspiration in completely different fields.
So it's about challenging your assumptions
Yeah.
and looking for solutions in unexpected places.
Exactly, yeah.
I like that.
They even suggest a fun little exercise you can try with your team.
Oh, okay.
Literally, swap seats with a teammate when you're stuck, and then pitch each other the wildest, most out there solutions you can think of.
I love that.
Right.
That sounds like it could lead to some really hilarious brainstorming sessions. And laughter can be a great way to relieve stress and boost creativity,
Exactly.
which might lead to some genuine breakthrough.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, so moving on to the third strategy. It's called fail fast, fail fun.
Fail fast, fail fun.
Yeah. And it's all about embracing experimentation
Huh?
and seeing failure as a valuable learning experience.
That's an important point. So many people are afraid of failure, but if you can reframe it as data,
Yeah.
it becomes less intimidating. and
Yeah.
more useful.
Exactly. So Twisty encourages you to make small bets, try things out, and adjust quickly based on the results.
Okay.
They even suggest creating a WTF wall in the office.
A WTF wall.
Yeah, I know, right? It's basically a place to post all the crazy ideas that come up, no matter how outlandish they might seem. And then every week you celebrate the biggest flops.
Okay, I can see how that would create a more playful and less judgmental atmosphere,
Yeah.
which encourages people to take risks and learn from those mistakes. I do have to admit, though, the idea of a WTF wall might be a bit much for some workplaces. Not everyone is comfortable with that level of, shall we say, unconventionality.
That's a fair point. It's definitely not for everyone. But I think the underlying principle is really valuable. It's about normalizing failure and encouraging a culture of experimentation.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the fourth and final strategy
Yes.
in this Spizz playbook. What's this one all about?
This one's perhaps the most unconventional of them all.
Oh, okay.
It's called flip the power dynamic.
Flip the power dynamic.
Yeah. And it's about taking ownership of the things that annoy you instead of letting them control you.
Okay, I'm really curious to hear more about this.
Yeah. So Twisty actually uses their own experience with the anger management program as an example. They say, anger management sucked until I ran it. So they took something that they initially resented and found a way to not just cope with it, but to actually benefit from it.
Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance, you're actively taking control and making the situation work for you.
Exactly. And they challenge us to ask ourselves, what's annoying us right now? And is there a way we can own it and turn it into an opportunity?
That's a powerful question to consider. It encourages us to look for those hidden opportunities in the things that tend to drain our energy or hold us back.
Yeah, and I think this strategy really highlights the core message of this whole Spizz philosophy, which is that playfulness isn't just about having fun. It's about using that playful energy to navigate challenges, unlock creativity, and ultimately achieve greater success.
It's about approaching life with that sense of curiosity, a willingness to experiment, an openness to seeing things from different perspectives, which are all qualities that are essential for success in any field.
Absolutely. And the great thing is it doesn't have to be complicated. You can start small. Try out some of these strategies and see what works for you.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to give it a try.
Awesome.
So what else does Twisty have to say about applying this Spizz mindset? Do they give any specific examples of how it can be used in like a professional setting?
You know, they actually do.
Yeah.
In the next part of the excerpt, Twisty talks about how the Spizz approach can even be applied to something as seemingly serious as choosing an EHR system.
An EHR system.
Yeah.
That's an interesting connection.
Right.
I'm curious to hear how they tie that in.
Me too. We'll delve into that and more when we come back.
So how about that EHR system?
Yeah, let's get back to that.
How do they tie that in?
Well, it actually ties in nicely with that fourth strategy we were just discussing, flipping the power dynamic.
Right, taking ownership instead of letting things get to you.
Exactly. So Twisty uses the example of dealing with a frustrating EHR system. To illustrate this point, they talk about how some EHRs can actually feel more like a trap than a tool with all these restrictive contracts and NDAs. That prevent you from speaking out if you're unhappy.
I can definitely see how that would be a situation ripe for a little Spizz.
Right. And, you know, most of us have experienced software or systems that just don't quite work the way we need them to.
Yeah, for sure.
And so instead of just feeling stuck or complaining about it, Twisty suggests flipping the power dynamic by finding an EHR that actually gives you more control and aligns with your values. They specifically mention an EHR called ChiroHD as an example, calling it what they say is the #1 socially recommended EHR for chiropractors. And they point out that it doesn't require any NDAs.
It sounds like they're subtly weaving in a bit of marketing there for that specific EHR.
They are, but it's done in a way that feels pretty organic to the overall message. You know, they're basically saying, hey, if you're dealing with a system that's not working for you, don't just accept it. Explore your options. Find a solution that feels right and own that choice.
Yeah, I appreciate that they're grounding these concepts in real-world examples that are relevant to their target audience. You know, it makes the ideas more tangible and actionable.
I agree. And that's one of the things that makes Twisty's writing so engaging. They managed to blend these playful, almost whimsical ideas with practical advice. And relatable anecdotes.
Yeah, it's a refreshing mix of inspiration and actionability.
Right. And it's a smart approach, by tapping into this playful energy, they're making these potentially dry or complex topics more approachable
Uh-huh.
and maybe even a little fun.
Like business strategy
Right.
or tech choices.
Exactly. And I think it really reinforces that key takeaway, which is that playfulness isn't just about goofing off.
Right.
It's about using that energy to navigate challenges,
Yeah.
to unlock creativity, and ultimately achieve greater success.
Couldn't agree more. It's about approaching life with a sense of curiosity,
Yeah.
experimentation, a willingness to see the world from different perspectives.
Which are all incredibly valuable qualities, no matter what field you're in or what challenges you might be facing.
So how do we actually put the Spizz mindset into action?
That's a great question.
What's the call to action here?
Well, Twisty ends the excerpt with a pretty clear call to action.
Okay.
They encourage readers to actively inject more playfulness into their work and their lives. They suggest trying at least one new approach, breaking out of your routine, and basically just having fun with the process.
So it's not about making some radical overnight transformation.
Right.
It's about taking small steps and experimenting to see what works.
Yeah, and they promise some pretty amazing results.
Really?
Yeah, they say watch your energy spike, watch creativity explode, watch resilience kick in.
Those are some pretty bold claims. But I have to admit, after exploring the Spizz concept, I am feeling a bit more optimistic myself.
Yeah.
It's like they're giving us permission to just let go of the seriousness for a little bit,
Yeah.
to embrace the unexpected, and maybe even find a little joy in the process.
I think that's a message we could all use a little bit more these days. It's a good reminder that even when things are tough, there's always room for playfulness, creativity, and a little bit of spizz.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling stuck or uninspired, what would you say is the most important takeaway from this deep dive? What's one thing you hope they'll remember?
I think Twisty sums it up perfectly with this question. What's one thing that's annoying you right now that you could potentially own and turn into an opportunity?
That's a great question. It encourages us to take this Spizz concept and apply it to our own lives, to really look for those hidden opportunities within the challenges that we're facing.
And who knows, maybe we'll all discover our own unique way to spizz things up and turn those lemons into something extraordinary.
This has been a really fun and insightful exploration of the power of playfulness. I'm curious to hear what our listeners think.
Me too. If you're feeling inspired, we'd love to hear from you. Share your spizz stories or let us know what you're going to skizz up in your own life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep playing, and keep on spizzing.
It's funny how this spizz idea, it seems so simple, almost obvious, right?
Yeah.
And yet it's something we so easily forget.
I think you've hit on something really important there. As adults, we tend to get so caught up in responsibilities, deadlines, and achieving these goals.
Yeah.
We forget how valuable play is, not just for our well-being,
Right.
but for our creativity and our problem-solving abilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like we're conditioned to believe that. Plays for kids.
Right.
It's something we should just leave behind. But Twisty reminds us that playfulness is a superpower.
I love that. Playfulness as a superpower.
Yeah.
It shifts our perspective from seeing play as frivolous
Yeah.
to recognizing it as a strength.
Right. And it connects back to that research we were talking about earlier on playfulness and resilience.
Yeah.
Approaching challenges with a sense of play, experimenting, not being afraid to laugh at our mistakes. These are all qualities that can help us bounce back from setbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about cultivating this mindset of flexibility, curiosity, a willingness to see things from all these different angles, not taking ourselves too seriously, and finding moments of joy and lightness, even in the midst of those difficult situations.
I think that's what I find so inspiring about this whole philosophy. It's not about denying the challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about finding ways to inject that playfulness, that creativity, and even a little mischief into our approach to life.
It's about remembering that life, in many ways, is a game.
Yeah.
And like any good game, it's meant to be played, explored, enjoyed.
Well said. Thinking about Spizz in our own lives, I'm realizing that there are so many areas where a little bit more playfulness could make a big difference.
I agree. Whether it's our work, relationships, or personal growth, there's always room for more Spizz.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Ooh, a Spizz challenge, perhaps.
A Spizz challenge. I challenge you to find one area of your life where you can inject a little bit more of that playfulness. It could be something small, like trying a new approach to a work task, or something bigger, like finally starting that creative project. that you've been putting off.
And remember, it's not about perfection or achieving some grand outcome.
Right.
It's about embracing the process, experimenting, and allowing yourself to have fun along the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Eh.
And who knows? You might discover your own unique way to spizz things up, unlock a whole new level of creativity, resilience, and joy. Until next time, stay curious, stay playful, and keep on diving.